Good day to you. This is Mike here at Sound Investment. Today I'm going to show you a little bit of an assembly process. This is a small little enclosure that I built for a gentleman. It's really designed as a sound quality system. He has a single 10-inch woofer now and he just doesn't like the way the box fits in the truck. So we're going to do this. This is actually a downfire enclosure that I built. We're going to use the Kicker 6 3/4 inch shallow mount. I mean, these are special little speakers, so they're actually a subwoofer. I use them in one of my vehicles as a mid-bass driver, and it works really good as a mid-bass driver. They're not crazy expensive. They're not super deep. I was able to make these fit in the door of an F-150, no problem. But what I built here, this is the feet, so it's going to raise it up off of the floor just a little bit, sit it in the back of an SUV. And then it's kind of unobtrusive. At that point, he can throw his bicycle right on top of it and it won't be a problem. But I'm just going to show you how I wire this up. These particular speakers right here are dual 4-ohm coils. And I want to get this to an impedance that's safe on the amplifier. So the first thing that I'm going to do here is I am going to series these voice coils. So series these voice coils so that each one of these little subs is going to meter out at 8 ohms. Then I'm going to parallel the two together. After I parallel the two together, it's going to give me a 4-ohm load, which the amplifier is going to be real happy about. It'll play with everything that it'll do, not get hot, not get grumpy. This vehicle has a Moscone Pico amplifier in it, and we were working it a little bit too hard at 2 ohms, so we're going to alter this impedance. So I'm just stripping out my jumper wires here so that I can go from one voice coil to the other voice coil. Pretty simple kind of a procedure. So I'm going from the negative on this coil, make sure I get all my frays in here. Over to the positive on this second coil. So that puts these speakers in series, right? So I have 2 leftover terminals. Kind of think of it like this. The electricity flows into this side, runs around inside the voice coil, exits out this side, runs into this side of the voice coil, spins around inside of here, does what it does electronically, which truly is just an electromagnet, then exits back to the amplifier. So a lot of people get this kind of confused and don't understand how it works. It's really not that complicated, but people like to get a little wound up about it. Oh, actually I already made that. So my second speaker, obviously I'm just using the just some scrap wire that we had laying around on the floor, literally. So these are the 48Cwrt674. So it's a 6 3/4. That's why the part numbers are a little strange. The 4 at the end of it denotes that it is dual 4-ohm coils. All of the CWR woofers are dual coils. Some of them are dual 2, some of them are dual 4. Again, a lot of people get voice coil stuff all confused. Dual is not necessarily better. Dual 2 is not necessarily better. It's all about matching the correct thing with your amplifier so that you can get the impedance correct to make your amplifier happy and make the most power that it can. In the case of this Moscone amplifier, the amplifier itself will actually make more power at 2 ohms. But we've got this amplifier pretty loaded up and it gets a little hot when it runs for long periods of time. And this gentleman likes to do some road trips, and when he's playing his music for a couple hours, the amplifier is definitely toasty. So we're going to try and remedy a little bit of that right now, raising the impedance level on this amplifier. So this is my inside the box wire. When I build sound quality woofers or enclosures, most of the time, I will build them with the center divider. So in the center of this box, there is a divider in there, right? So that way each woofer is doing its own thing. Also a little bit of an old school trick, throw some pillow stuffing inside the box. It does help the dampening factor. Makes things sound a lot more warm. So we'll just stuff this in. It is a sealed enclosure. So we're just going to put some of this sound dampening material or pillow stuffing down in here. Nothing crazy. This box is like 0.6, I think, for internal cubic space. I think it's like 7 by 8 by, it's 40 inches long minus, so it's like 19 or something this, or you know, on each chamber. So right around 6.6, which these little subs are going to love. It's kind of strange talking about a subwoofer that happens to be so small, but these things work really well, especially in application where we don't want to use up any space inside the vehicle. The client doesn't need a lot. He doesn't listen to music that requires huge amounts of subwoofer. Make sure your wires stay where they go. I did put a rabbet in the top of this box, so the woofer fits down in the hole pretty flush. I really like to countersink my woofers like this. It's not as hard to do as a lot of people think. I used to think that I had to have some giant special router bit. Sometimes I actually have that giant special router bit. The problem is that some woofers like to have a little bit bigger, more than 3/4 of an inch, and that rabbet bit only likes to do about 3/4 of an inch. So the way you do that instead is you just lay a second piece of wood on the top of your enclosure. In this case, I just made this enclosure out of 1/2 inch. So the baffle itself is 1 inch because there's 2 pieces of 1/2 inch, right? But the bottom level is 1/2 inch, top is 1/2 inch, which is pretty close to flush for this little speaker. Usually I build things out of 3/4 inch, and when you're building out of 3/4 inch, obviously you're dropping it 3/4 of an inch, and most of the bigger woofers like that better. In this case, I'm just going to take my 2 negatives, put them together inside this terminal, and let's see here. Put these 2 together. Yeah, I got 2 different color wires inside the box, but it'll be just fine. It's all kicker wire. It's all 16 gauge, oxygen free copper. Don't use anything else. This particular wire from kicker actually happens to be tinned, so it's silver tinned, which makes it even better. So when we do solder things, it's even better about taking solder. It's really nice about it, actually. So I did make these holes just right, so you gotta just tuck the wire in so that you make sure you're not screwing up your connections. Something doesn't feel right here. Made it tight enough to make it hard to get out of there. I think I just got too much carpet laying down in there, making it too tight. Screws will take care of that, no problem. When I screw a sub in, I really do like to use like a panhead style screw. It's nice to have a flat bottom on a screw instead of a drywall screw that's countersunk. So that what happens is when you screw it into the sub, that taper it'll dimple the basket on a sub real easy. And then you don't get quite the sealing surface. Yeah, you know, just kind of looks ugly, not something I like. Around here, I always tell everybody, all my guys, that it doesn't bother me if we got a hole in a speaker surround, as long as there's a hole in your finger to match. So it's pretty easy to miss and drive your screw gun right through the surround. So I like to throw a thumb in front in case it slips off. You're less likely to get the sub. But I will tell you that anybody who's been doing this any period of time has done it. It happens. It's not a good day when it does, because it definitely makes the sub junk when you do it that way. Certainly the more practice you have, the less likely you are to do it. Most of the time I like to sort of work them just the same way I would put a cylinder head on. Sort of across, just so you're not torquing them down in the hole crooked. That is a different screw. I gotta put my terminal cup in too. By the way, I solder my wires on a terminal cup. It makes it kind of foolproof. Not soldering your wires on, sometimes the terminal, it'll fall off. Even if you're using the right size spade connectors. I don't like to have to go back and fix things that I shouldn't have had to go back and fix. I also don't often use a terminal cup. I personally just like to run a wire out of the box and use a little silicone on the outside of the box to hold it in place. Then you don't have any failure from a connection at all. But in this case, this gentleman does want to be able to pull this enclosure out. It is an SUV, so he'd like to be able to use the space sometimes. I have a feeling he won't, but I do give him that option. I'm going to go grab one piece of test equipment so that I make sure that everything's right. Hold on a second. I've got this great little piece of a test equipment here. It's a tone generator, and tone generator comes in real handy if you're going to do this very much. You should get one of these. This one happens to be an install tone generator. I got a red and a black. Those are my positive and negative speaker outs, right? This thing has, it'll generate tones, which you can adjust the frequency range of those tones and the amplitude. It'll also do RCAs if you're trying to do that, and an RCA here. So gives me the ability to go straight to an amplifier and do some checking. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to show you a polarity check so that I can make sure that I wired these speakers correctly. You can do this really simple with a 9-volt battery. Will do just the same thing. We used to do it with our screw gun, with the battery on our screw gun, but these days, screw guns being 20 volt, that's a big pop when you're doing small speakers. So this thing just uses a 9-volt battery. So I'm going to stick my blue wire on my positive, black wire on my negative. Doesn't have to be pretty, because I'm just gonna give this a pop and make sure that my speakers are in phase and move the same amount. So we got two subwoofers on this thing. I got a speaker test button, right? So I'm gonna pump them. My battery must be pretty dang low, but it's hard to see, but I can tell you that both of these subwoofers are moving out. If they pop out, then you have things in phase. If they pop in, you have things backwards. So I'm just going to reverse the negative and the positive here and show you, if you can see. I'm not sure you can see on the video there, but same test, and we're popping the backwards direction. Actually, not backwards, because I didn't have it hooked up backwards. Hook it up backwards this time. Positive to the black, negative to the blue, and they are sucking in. So little 6 3/4 inch subwoofers, downfire enclosure. I checked it so that I know when I call my customer, I can just do a quick swap out in the parking lot and get him going right down the road. So this enclosure, I built this with a bit of a round over across the whole top. I'll get rid of the sawdust off of it, but it just goes end for end in this gentleman's vehicle, and it's going to sound real good for him. So if you're in need of some kind of special box, or you just want to keep seeing videos from me, hit the like button, the subscribe. You guys all know the drill. It's my hope for the future. Thanks. Have a good day.